Hi, I'm Lisa Gunther, and I'm here again with Kelly Sidoric, our Depth of Field columnist. So, Kelly, tell us a little bit about your column for the June 2024 issue of Canadian Cattleman, which was about a talk from Lauren Sergi from Edmonton.
Yes, it's her business is Upfront Communications, and she had a lot of good ideas and thoughts about communications within teams. One of the analogies she used in her presentation from a real life experience was when she'd actually been going to drive a team of sled dogs and admittedly was very inexperienced with it. And so, when one dog is laying down, one is trying to run off in one direction, the others aren't paying attention. It was good to really be mindful of us in our teams of how we can approach things differently.
Yeah, for sure. And so it was really, I guess, about communication within teams, top down, bottom up communication.
Yeah, she really stressed the importance of, that certainly the stage needs to be set top down, but that it needs to be encouraged so that it's a bottom up flow, two-way level of two-way flows both ways of the communication, so that not only is the bosses, if you will, making sure that they're communicating with everyone on the team, but that there's a opportunity to have it come back up. And one of the keys that she says to that is that making sure that there is trust built in the operation or the organization, so that people can base their communication on that.
And so what happens if that's not all working?
Well, one of the pieces, she actually made a analogy with nature, with the idea that nature abhors a vacuum. And so if you're not trying to make sure that there's good positive communication going on, there will be some kind of communication. And it very well could be negative. I think one of the things that specifically many of us have fallen into is that idea of triangling, where, I have an issue with you, but I'm never talking to you about it. I'm always going to the third person. And, there's the idea that we've talked about before of just needing to vent or unburden. That's one thing. But if there's constantly that triangling, that really can be destructive to trust for sure.
Yeah. On the other hand, what does it look like when it's all working together nicely?
Well, both ways, so that that people feel heard and valued, and also that if the leaders of the organization don't necessarily know what's going on, they are comfortable admitting that. So then the uncertainties and all the speculation doesn't build in the behind the scenes, but they know for sure that is, at this point in time, we don't know how this is going to play out, but we'll work together to make sure that it does.
So what are some tips, I guess, for the leaders in an organization or a family farm to make sure that communication is flowing?
I think we have to be intentional about making time for it. And that isn't, especially this season, the beginning of the growing season, there's not a lot of time for those kind of conversations, but we still should be carving them in, I think, when we can, for sure. And Lauren also talks about the idea of really trying to frame conversations from a positive way, and also to be more futuristic. If we're spending too much time in the past, or sometimes even the present, people can feel threatened or blamed. And so if we can look forward and say, okay, well, what can we do next time? That puts people in a different headspace to be able to approach problems without having to feel like somebody is the culprit, if you will. Another little strategy that she used with some of our wording is, I think it's very often easy that we'll go, yes, but. And she's suggesting we need to think of ways to change that. So we're saying yes, and because then it doesn't feel so much like we're putting stops in or, again, perhaps blaming people.
Right. I think I'm a bit of a yes, but person myself.
Yes.
For those, and maybe for people who aren't yet in a leadership position in an organization or just coming into that on a farm, did you have any tips for them?
Well, I don't know necessarily specifically, but I think, it needing to being mindful that there's the element, of the basic information that needs to be shared, but there's also an emotional element to it. And that's our filter of sometimes how we will, how we will receive or even, give different modes of communication or different information. So being aware of that. And I mean, we've heard and that if the situation is elevated and there's a lot of high stress, maybe that isn't the best time. So being able to just say, you know what, this is an important conversation. We need to have it, but let's give it some time and come back. Maybe we need to lay some groundwork for it of figuring out of what's the best way to go.
Great. Anything else you want to add today, Kelly?
It just something else that comes up from a previous column is some of Chris Voss's work where and Loren talked about this too, where you take out the pronouns like the I and the you out of it, and just it seems like, it looks like, or it appears that you're struggling with this. Is there something that can be done to better address it? I think those are just a few little hints that we can apply.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Good talking to you today.
Thanks, Lisa.